Hi, and welcome for probably the umpteenth time to English 102, Writing 2 and Intro to Literature. We're in Module 1, and I wanted to just use this time, this lecture time for Module 1, to talk about why you take this class. The biggest complaint or most common question I get the first day of class when I teach this in a classroom is, why do I have to take this class? I don't know why I have to take this. This has nothing to do with what I'm going to do for my career. And while you may think that that's accurate, it's not really, because literature, reading, writing about literature is about more than just the words on the page. And this is where I tend to get kind of passionate, so I will try to refrain from rambling too much. If you look at the syllabus, you will see the learning outcomes that SUNY has proposed for this class. The things that when you are done with this class, you should be able to do. And if you look at them, it's not just being able to write. Critical thinking is mentioned. That's a big thing, and that carries across all different types of careers, all different types of jobs, personal life, public life, what have you. We as humans have to employ critical thinking skills. And literature is an excellent way. Reading and analyzing and discussing it is an excellent way to really hone those skills, because we are all looking at the same source material, but we might not take the same information away from it. Really, that's one of the things I love about literature, is that, 2 people, 10 people, 15, 20 people can all read the same book or the same poem and walk away with 2, 10, 15, 20 totally different interpretations or messages that they got from the book, which is fantastic, because reading is part of a dialogue. So the writer, their part of the conversation is the words on the page. As the reader, our part of the conversation is how we interact with those words, what meaning we take from them, how the book relates to us, or the poem or the short story or the play relates to us specifically. And where this gets really interesting is that no 2 people have the same frame of reference. So no 2 people, even identical twins, come to a reading with the same frame of reference, the same set of experiences, the same ideologies and beliefs and understanding of language, because language itself is so nuanced, English especially. We've got so many words that mean kind of, sort of, maybe the same thing, but not exactly the same thing. So word choice becomes important in the audience's understanding of what we're reading. So for this course, if you are not, a big reader, not an avid reader, maybe you really dislike reading, try to put that aside. Look at the things that I've assigned to read, read through them. Don't be afraid to read something twice, or read something over, or read parts of it over, just because, you can miss so much on the first reading. Reading and analyzing literature, I think, is kind of like doing a jigsaw puzzle and you don't know what the picture on the box is. You're given a big, like a gallon-sized Ziploc bag of puzzle pieces, and you dump them all out on the table, and they're familiar. The shapes of the puzzle pieces are familiar because, when we think about it, pretty much every jigsaw puzzle has pieces that are like the same shapes, but they go together differently. Those puzzle pieces are the words, and we're familiar with all of the words that we read, but we've never seen them in the same combination. So we don't necessarily know what the end picture is going to be. And the cool thing with literature is that because we are all bringing our own individual frames of reference to the reading, our own sets of experiences, our own understandings of life and the world around us, we can be presented with the exact same set of puzzle pieces and get a different picture. And as long as we can explain how we got that picture, we're not necessarily wrong. Because a lot of times, the writers don't give us, the explanation. Well, I wrote this to mean that. So it falls on us. And those are our critical thinking skills that we're building and we're talking about in the discussions, in the writing assignments, the journals, the essays, and so on. Then another component to reading literature is that it helps us develop empathy. It allows us to put ourselves into someone else's shoes. It allows us to experience things that we may never have the opportunity. And in some instances, we would never want to have the opportunity to experience in real life. There's a quote that somebody who reads lives 1,000 lives in one lifetime, and somebody who doesn't lives one life in a lifetime, because reading takes us places that we'll may never get to go to, places that don't actually exist. If you read like science fiction or speculative fiction, what have you. It allows us to see the world through somebody else's eyes. The characters that are presented to us, the writers, based on what parts of themselves that they put into their writing. So it allows us to help build empathy. It allows us to gain a better understanding of the world around us and of ourselves. Because as we read literature, we tend to learn a lot about ourselves. If you have not spent a lot of time thinking about what you think about certain things or how you feel about certain things, reading literature gives us a great opportunity to do that. And it gives us a safe way to do that, because you can have these sort of internal discussions with yourself, with the text that you're working with, and you're not at risk of offending anyone, because you've got a book, or what have you. We can learn things that we like, things that we don't like. We can gain a better understanding of our own emotions when we read about characters that are experiencing things similar to us. In that regard, we can feel not so alone in our feelings and thoughts and emotions, which is really incredible. And literature can be fun. It's a great escape from life sometimes, a nice break. No matter what you choose to read. Right now I am reading, I don't know how good this will show up, Final Girl Support Group. Got it 50% off. Great bargain at Barnes & Noble. I really dig Grady Hendrix's books. Huge horror fan. Dig that. The last book I read was the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, which highly recommend. Final Girl Support Group is right up there too. But, I read everything. And I hope that my selections for this class give you an opportunity to read some things that you're not familiar with. And you might find things that you like. Now, the flip side of that coin is you're going to find things that you don't like. And guess what? It's valid to not like something, as long as you can explain why you don't like it. Saying I don't like it isn't enough. Explain to me, be able to tell me why you don't like something. I could go on and talk about one of the books that I really, really don't like. There are lots of them because I've read a lot, and I don't like everything I read. But I like a lot of it. So I'm hoping that in the reading choices I've selected, there are some things that you like. And, it's pretty much a guarantee that there will be some things that you don't. If in any of the reading selections for any of the modules, you come across something that you've read before, like it was assigned when you were in high school, and you think, oh, I know that, I don't have to reread it. Please do me a favor and reread it. At the very least, skim it over, because you are not the same person you were when you read it the first time or the last time. Your life experience has changed since then. Your frame of reference has changed since then. So your part of the conversation may have changed since then. So look at it again. I've got videos in the readings for this module folder that will introduce the readings to you. Go through that, because you'll see that you're not reading everything I assigned for the module. You're going to be picking and choosing some things. So go through the introduction to the readings. Pick the ones that sound most interesting to you, or maybe the ones that sound least painful to you to read. But read. It's important. It will give you insight into things that you might not be able to experience or think about otherwise. So that's really why you take this class. And I hope that as we move through things, that you get to see what you're getting out of it. I will tell you that a lot of times at the beginning of a semester, I will have students like, oh, I don't like to read. I don't like to read. And maybe it's because I also give audio files for as many of the things as I can, so that it's not just reading, but, you can listen to or instead of, because that counts. Like books on tape, they count as books. Some people tell you they don't, but they're lying. So maybe that's what makes it a little less painful for people. But a lot of times at the end of the course, I get students who are like, wow, I read some things that I really liked, or I reread some things that I didn't like in high school, but I see it differently now. So hopefully you'll get something out of it. I'm done rambling for module 1, so you can move into the readings for module 1 folder. Pay attention to the instructions, look at the required reading, because there's 2 questions by Linda Berry, and then the others you're picking something from like each grouping. So pay attention to the introduction so you can pick the things that are best suited for you. And I really look forward to the discussions, and have fun.